Welcome to Totally Talent Podcast by HR.com, your go-to source for all things talent. Whether you're looking for expert insights on high-volume hiring, the latest trends in recruitment technology, or strategies for building a winning team, we've got you covered. Join us for each episode as we dive deep into the challenges and opportunities shaping the talent landscape today. Let's get started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to In a Corner with Mike Wood at HR.com. It's actually Totally Talent Podcast, but we've been in the corner for a while now. But I'm very excited to talk to Ellen from Franciscan Health. Can you just introduce yourself and tell us what you do there?
I'm Ellen Page. I'm Director of Talent Acquisition at Franciscan Health. I've been here 13 years, 8 years as director. Franciscan Health is a large Catholic healthcare system in the Midwest. We're run by the Sisters of Perpetual Adoration, praying for us nonstop, 24/7.
Like right now?
Yes, right now. Thank you. They are truly involved in our business in every aspect. This is our 150th year in healthcare. Four sisters came from Germany into Lafayette, Indiana, which is Purdue, if you know where that's at. And 2 days later, opened a hospital. Okay. And 150 years later, we have 13 hospitals and 20,000 employees.
Wow.
Quite the mission.
Yeah, that's a lot of employees, a lot of hospitals,
Yes.
a lot to manage.
Yes.
I hear you have a great transformation story about like what you were dealing with, post-COVID. And so let's go back to the COVID years for a little bit. And what was the situation like, coming out of that? I'm sure you had to hire immediately.
Well, it kind of started just at the cusp of COVID, really. I mean, Franciscan, traditionally, we had waiting lists for our employees. And some of our managers still think we do have waiting lists. We do not. And as we moved into that COVID, that first quarter of 2020, we closed all optional services as everybody else did, redeployed a lot of folks. So we didn't really have the staffing crisis at that time because we were able to redeploy. We have 20,000 employees. But then what happened was at that time we were doing our Workday ERP implementation.
Always fun.
So now we have a pandemic. We're tearing apart all the systems and no one's in the building. So it was quite the perfect storm. And when they came back in December, we reopened everything. We had new HR systems. We had new recruiting systems, shared services, finance, payroll, you name it. So we didn't just rip the Band-Aid off.
We started from scratch pretty much.
We took an ice pick and stuck it right in the wound. And so our adoption rate was much slower. Plus, we were still in the middle of the pandemic at this time. And then we went live in December of 2020 with Workday. And then in 2021, everybody resigned, bought a van to live down by the river kind of thing. 2022, we restarted to rehire people. But now our own staff were sick. So at one point, the perfect storm for us was right in the fall of 2022. Because we were doing rapid response. We had outside agency coming in for the critically ill during the true COVID period. But, starting in 2022, we weren't banging pots for healthcare workers anymore because now we knew there was a shot and people refused to take it. And now
that whole memory of banging pots.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Healthcare, I remember it now.
So now the healthcare workers were not feeling the love but they were still taking care of sick patients who weren't, who were getting sick when they really didn't have to. And the healthcare workers knew this, right?
That would drive me insane.
It was a very tough situation for healthcare workers. And so a lot of them couldn't do it.
Yep. Well, you get burned out being yelled at all the time.
Exactly. Or they were spending your loved ones' last moments because there was no one to be with them, right? And you can do that, but you can't do that on a daily basis. No. I mean, I can remember at one point we had 4 individuals that passed away at one hospital. One was a mom who just gave birth, a dad who was 30, and from COVID. So these healthcare workers were, and I mean, all across the board, nursing, doctors, EVS. I mean, everybody was taking the hit. And now our own staff were sick. At one point in that fall, I think we had 3,000 people on one day that were out sick.
Wow.
So coming into 2023 was very critical for us because now we didn't have staff. we were still in the midst of the pandemic. And in 2022, we spent $131 million in outside agency. Not sustainable.
No.
Surprised I'm still here, actually.
Well, they can't find people.
Yeah. My job, they probably would have, though. So we knew we were broken, tremendously broken. And when we did the Workday implementation, we did have a third-party recruiting vendor because we knew there were some opportunities and gaps with Workday at that time.
There's a lot of gaps. That's why they have a lot of partners.
Yes. And we love Workday. Workday has really been a solution for us. But in the recruiting
it's not
piece,
good, or
the front facing,
before they bought Paradox.
Yes.
They might change that a little bit.
And they're on a trajectory to enhance, but they're just not fast enough. That we were already live, so we didn't have much choice. And that vendor that we had picked to go live with, it worked in the first, what I thought worked in the first year or so. Then they got bought out. Mm-hmm. And their solution to me, they stopped supporting us. Yeah. So their solution was give us more money and we will migrate you to a new system. And I'm like, I'm not good at math.
I'm going to give you no money.
Yeah. How about the money I already gave you?
Yeah.
And so I opted not to stay with them. We went out, it was a informal RFP, and that's where we began our partnership with Phenom. And then I knew we were really broken because what I didn't know. And at that time, we had 3,000 openings across our system. And we couldn't post jobs. We couldn't unpost jobs. People couldn't find our jobs. The kind of the basics, right?
Yep.
So we knew we had to make a change. And, my big tagline right now is, we couldn't innovate a broken system.
Yep.
So we had to fix it. And that was the first conversation we had with Phenom. Our rep, Luke Carrington, said to me, he says, Ellen, what is it that you really need? I go, I need to go back to basics. I need recruitment 101, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, and then we can look at all the fancy stuff, right? And he goes, we can do that. And we did. And so we started our design and implementation in 2022 and went live January 1st, 2023. So we had 3,000 jobs, spent $131 million in 2022. And in 2025, we spent just under $30 million in outside agency. So we've saved $101 million in 3 years. And that's the combination of picking a vendor that works, right? They found a solution to the issues we were having, and then we started to innovate. Then we started to realize, okay, now people can find our jobs. Mm-hmm. Let's reach out to them faster. Let's engage with them sooner. Let's remember that they want to work for Franciscan, but we didn't have a job for them, back then. So it has just been a trajectory that has been an incredible journey these last 3 years.
Have you been able to use any of the AI agents?
We haven't done the AI agents yet. Mm-hmm. Remember, we're a Catholic healthcare system.
Yes.
Conservative is kind of in our DNA. Yep. We hope to move to that. We have really leveraged automation where it works. Mm-hmm. So, we mapped out a whole from hire to retire, and we looked at those moments that matter, and that's where our human touch, is still there. Right. All the other stuff that we can remove, we're doing, and our recruiters now are really our consultants again, because they don't have 100 recs each, and they don't have to screen candidates. We do a whole video link to everybody who applies, and it's a combination of free-form text, drop-down menus, and video. So now they watch videos all day long and then pass them on and decide if they want to move them to an interview. So they don't have to find you, set up a screening time. And we don't do it on those final candidates. We do them on all the candidates, because some of our campuses are only 5 miles apart. So I may, watching Susie's video, who looks amazing, but she's not the right person for this job. But I know my other recruiter is. They send that video. They can send it to the manager to review. And now Susie's got a lot more opportunities with Franciscan than just the one job she found mm-hmm. and applied for.
Now, with your team, because you're managing a whole team,
mm-hmm.
what are your metrics for success? Like, what are you? Because I know in the past, everybody's all time to hire. It's time to hire, time to fill, whatever.
It's interesting that you mentioned that.
And so, I mean, I told you that my wife, Mrs. Wood, is a recruiter, and I mean, it's still on time. It's still on time, and she's just constantly under this, trying to fill like 60 recs or something like that. She like it never ends. The
Hmm.
bucket keeps getting
Oh,
full.
yeah.
So
That's called retention, by the way. And we hope that some of those departments will start looking at that, not recruitment always.
good, yes. And well, and so I was really impressed with the capabilities that are coming to Phenom in terms of, getting through, it's not an application problem. It's not a like we need applicants. We need the right people here.
Hmm.
And
Well, now
so
we have more applications now than we've had in a long time.
that's good.
Not in imaging. If you're an imaging tech, call me. I think it's interesting that you say that. It used to be time to fill, right?
Yep.
The rec goes up, the rec goes down. But there's so many variables in between. The manager goes to Europe for 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Because your time to fill. What we look at is time to hire. So I don't care how long your rec has been posted. Well, I mean, I care, but
Yeah.
what I care about in the process driven piece of it is when the right candidate applies, how long does it take to them get an interview? How long does it take for them to get an offer? And system wide, we're right around 16 days from the date you apply to the date you get your
Pretty good.
offer, which is great.
Yeah.
And that helps the recruiters know that they're the ones empowered at that point. It's not everybody else. It's how fast you do that. But now what we're seeing, and it's dropped off a little bit, but gosh, last year in early 2024, late 2024, we had such a no-show rate, like
Really.
just ghosted, which now is a recruiting term, by the way.
Oh, it is.
And so we did a lot of deep dive into that analytics. And what we found was we were getting to the candidates so fast, it wasn't the job they wanted. So, for instance, our highest applications are Wednesday afternoon from 1 to 4. Do you
Really?
know why?
Why?
Because that's when they've hit their limit, right? So that, they go into the weekend, they're like, okay, I can do this, I can do
Oh.
this. They come Monday, they're like, boy, nothing's changed. Tuesday, really nothing's changed. Wednesday afternoon, I'm done. They go out to their car, they have 20 minutes on their lunch hour, and they apply to every job they can find. And in healthcare, in our markets,
Yep.
there's a limited amount of jobs. And because we were getting to them so fast and getting them the offer, it was the right amount of money, they would accept, but then they would go back to their employer and they'd say, oh, no, don't leave. Or the job they really wanted gets to them 2 weeks later,
Ugh.
and then they take that job. So we've kind of moved. Speed is important, don't get me wrong, but we're really looking at that quality. Like what we want to talk to the candidate. What do you really want? Where do you really want to be? You put ICU, but is that really what you want?
You understand what the
And because we've automated so much and we can take all that minutia away from the recruiters, now they can have those conversations, right? So that's helping us not only just fill those roles, is fill it with the right person in the right job.
So I gotta ask you, I've been telling the wife that, the voice screening is coming.
Hmm.
It's a huge part of her job. It's a huge time suck for both the candidate and for her. It just seems like one of these, like the scheduling stuff that's out, the calendar tools that are out there. Yes, it's something that everybody hates to do, and there's tools out to fix this. So are you excited? Are you looking into, like, would you have AI voice screening?
I think we would when we're ready for it.
Mhm.
Because we're doing that front end screening, they save that 20, 30 minute, more than that, because the actual screening is 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you got to have the 2 days before just getting a hold of the candidate, right? I think for us, because we're moving in such a quality driven era, if we did a lot of high volume, man, we'd be all over it,
Yep.
because they don't need certifications, that they can come in. We know it's a high turnover, so you're turning and burning anyway. So uh that's where those agents are critical. What I would like to really focus on, you can write this down for Funa, is that interviewing agent for the hiring manager.
Mhm.
Because we feel now that that's our biggest gap is, you know, we've got the fantastic career site from Phenom. We've got the chat bot, the companion or chat bot where they can
Yep.
ask questions. It's very interactive 24/7. We never had that before, right? So they see the job, it tells them what they can expect. We have videos now, all of that. Then they talk to the recruiter to set up the interview. If we move them through that point, the recruiter's, branded, everything's that same vision. They go to the interview, then we hire them, and then they leave within 90 days. So we're like, okay, where's the gap? And we're wondering if it's that interview process. Are we really being authentic or telling them what the job really is, not just selling out on a job when they get there on day one and that's not the job.
Yeah, you don't want to give a high volume experience when the job isn't a high volume. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
a
like just
great
like, okay, you're gonna be here
example
for 3
is
weeks.
sterile processing.
Okay.
You don't need any certifications. We train you on the job, but it's a hard job. You're in surgery. There's a lot of, you're cleaning contaminated
You're
equipment or instruments. So people are
yeah.
like, yeah, I want to do, oh, yeah, I want to
And then
do
they get
that.
in there and
And
it's
they're like,
real and
oh, there's blood here.
yeah.
There's different things. And so we think there's a disconnect from what they think the job is to day one, right? So we've come up with like a day in the life and we're being very real about it.
Yeah.
Like, if this isn't what you want, we'll find you a different job. But let's be honest, right? Or we have those really hard units, where you've got a high acuity and frankly, every healthcare system's in the same boat, right? So we're trying to be a little bit more authentic so that they can, so that they can really understand it and decide, is this the job I want? Because, we have a long history. I mean, we have people that have worked at our company for 50 years.
Great.
Crazy. And we want them to feel that they can grow. They can, you start here, but you can, sky's the limit on what you want to do. Tuition, everything's there, but they have to know they have those paths, right?
Yeah, I love that you're highlighting that you can have a home there, that you can
Oh,
grow,
come.
because I feel like, most jobs now are just, get them in, get them out. We're not going to train. We're just going to get someone else in the spot. So I think, it's an advantage for you to be like, yeah, you can stay here.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't have to go
When
through
I,
this
when I
job process.
started 13 years ago, I was just a recruiter. And then I went to a lead recruiter and then I did our first implementation and then, and now I'm a director. So, I can tell the story because it happened for me. Right. And that we can do that anywhere. It's just that they have to know where to go and they have to know what to do. And so that internal mobility is really becoming a key piece for us. And likewise, even those that come externally, they want to know where can I go in 5 years, and those are questions that candidates never really asked before.
Yeah, well, it's so I follow the tech industry because I'm in the tech industry, and I think people are starting to get burned out of these like massive layoffs, and they want a place where they can stay for a little bit because it's been such a crazy 5-6 years since COVID. So I love that you are doing that.
Right, right. Loyalty goes both ways,
Yes,
right?
yes. Well, thank you for talking to
Oh,
me.
you're so welcome.
I hope you have a great rest of the conference. What's on tap today?
We've got lots of sessions today,
Oh,
back-to-back sessions. Some we're really excited about. It's been a fantastic. It always is one of the best conferences, strictly for HR, and let alone now tech piece of it. Right? We never had those options in
yeah.
in the olden days, like 5 years ago.
I love that this is in Philly and not in Vegas because I have to go to back-to-back conferences next week. In
Somebody was just asking me
there's a
about
lot
that,
of
and I
us.
said,
We're like this whole roaming band of nomads that are going to be
well, and
attending this.
those are there's the big hitters, right? Charlotte, Savannah, all
Yeah,
of those places. And I said, I love it that they want the roots, they want to stay here and give it to the local, right? Because this is where their headquarters are. So
yeah, yeah.
I love that about it. It's a great city. We've had great weather this week, considering it's
Yep,
March.
I've been
Today
under
that changes,
yeah,
but
I've been
we've been
under
very,
3 feet
very
of snow
lucky.
for a month. So
Well, and they got hit just literally a month ago, right? So we really lucked out this week with the weather, but it's such a great city to come to.
great. Well, thanks for joining me
Oh,
today.
you're welcome.
Thanks for tuning in to the Totally Talent podcast by HR.com. We hope you find today's episode insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to explore more episodes and discover valuable resources at hr.com/podcasts, where you can listen to all of our podcasts. Until next time, keep leading with purpose and making a difference in the world of talent.